Morning, welcome to Community Voice. I'm your host, Keith Parris. I want to thank everybody for joining us this morning. Good morning, Debo.
Good morning to you, sir.
Days after the night before.
After the morning.
You got one more to go, don't you?
Oh yeah, Sunday.
Yeah, let me shout out because my buddy get ready to have a birthday, and boy, I used to do his birthday.
Look who decided to join us, Keith.
And I was going like,
Team
dude,
Chisel.
I got to shut it down after week 1.
You want to go the whole
I
month?
just saw. He said, "Oh man, don't do a whole month anymore." I'm like, "Yeah, man," because it'd be like we still celebrate that birthday. But anyway, hey man, you only get one.
Yeah.
You only get one. I was by. Hey, what up, DJ? I was by my sister's.
Hey, who birthday?
Debo.
I'm still celebrating, man. I'm in here.
Yeah, man. Hey, man, you know, Debo just turned 93, man.
Man, that's a blessing.
1992.
They know better.
But I was by my nieces, and oh my God, my sister. But I just peeked in my niece's room.
Yeah.
She got an Earth, Wind, and Fire album I want. She got it up on the wall. She got all in all.
Maybe y'all can talk trades.
I need to talk to her, man. I walked by. I'm going, is that all in all?
Be like, I'll trade you my crayons for that.
Yeah, man.
She grown now. She the superstar of the family.
Yeah.
So
let's not say that, man. Come on, man.
She is. We went to that graduation.
Oh yeah, they loved it.
We went to that graduation.
They
I
loved
was like, man, they did that for
so
you.
she was real popular.
Yeah.
Very popular.
I think that was one of the gifts my sister has, that she was able to get that gift of congeniality.
So that's the one with the pound cake.
That's my only sister.
Yeah.
So you only got one sister.
I only got one sister, one brother.
Yeah, when usually only means that one.
Hey, man. Sometimes.
Why don't you leave?
Only
What
can
did
mean
it say?
the woman that I'm claiming.
Why don't you leave this conversation to the scholars?
There you go. There you go. Over there looking like fleece.
People that can count. Leave it.
DJ,
You did it to yourself.
there you
man.
go over there looking like Fleece Johnson, man.
So that means you only got one sister?
No, listen,
Yeah,
when
that's
you
my
say
older sister.
only, sometimes you can say
Only, well, how
that's
many
the
do you
woman that I'm
have?
claiming.
No, ain't no sometimes with only.
Hey, man, listen. No, seriously.
No pass is given, right,
No,
DJ?
well, listen.
about-
Hey, hold on, man. Hold on.
Sometimes
with pass right away.
Okay, listen.
You do know. You do know if you don't know that one of the things we do around here is we wordsmith.
Yeah, I see it.
We are pretty precise in our language here.
I do.
And the words we use, and when we called on it, you got to back up and go like,
This man
no.
says sometimes.
So
with
you know-
only. No.
Speaking of wordsmith, Debo did a commercial that he was talking about Dear Brown.
That wasn't me.
Oh, that wasn't you?
No.
Well,
That-
you should have corrected that since you corrected my
Dear Brown.
language.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's supposed to be
I
Brown,
don't
Deer
know
Road.
where that street is.
They said Dear Brown.
They said Dear Brown, where
Well,
he
if
having
you
this event.
dyslected.
Yeah, it could have been sent wrong because it was made by outside company.
Anywho, sometimes
See-
when somebody
see-
say only, man, it could be the
people
woman
from-
that they claiming, man.
People not from Wisconsin will say Waukesha.
Yeah, Waukesha.
Waukesha. And I'm going, Waukesha Jones?
Oh man.
Waukesha Smith?
Yeah.
Hey,
it's
you
supposed-
know,
that's Waukesha.
you know, Stephen A.
For those of y'all
He's
that's
a
trying to figure out what he's
wordsmith,
talking
right?
about.
So he said the word loquacious, and I was like, man, I never heard
I'm
that
sorry.
word before.
Batesville Caskets. All right, go on, man.
I was like, man, I never heard that word before.
Got a thing with caskets
They
and
got a
funeral
whole-
homes.
They got a whole person in the back of that joint.
Loquacious means
trying to get a discount.
somebody that
Yeah.
like talk a lot, right?
Debo.
So I said, you know what? Let me look this word up. I bet you somebody got a name loquacious.
I'm sure.
Typed it in on Facebook. First thing that came up, loquacious Jones. I said, man, that's crazy.
Be like, you talk too much,
We
Miss
just-
Jones.
Right. I was like, man, these words, boy, people naming their kids this and they don't even know the meaning of it.
Well, sometimes people actually identify with their name
Yeah, they do.
because you could know an Alberta and she just acts like an Alberta. She look like an Alberta.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, I heard something yesterday when they were talking about the Pope and how he chooses a name.
Yeah.
And they pointed out that there are people who will name their sons John. And they name them John because the name, they can fill out what that name means for them. And I want to say it's a basic name. And so it's not like if you get a name like Excalibur.
Oh,
You know,
Never heard
I
of
got
that.
one for you, or Cavalier. You know, you get that's a name that is, you know,
Cleveland.
there was a kid that I went to that worked with at camp. His name was Christopher Napoleon.
Oh,
One of the coolest names I ever heard in my whole life.
Napoleon,
And great one. And he looked like
Yeah,
Christopher
Napoleon.
Napoleon.
Yeah,
oh
yeah.
man, it was so cool.
Yeah.
You know, so you get some names. I'm just Keith. Family Guy really went after me, and somebody said in Family Guy, Keith, the worst name in the English language. Oh, let me shout out the good folks there at the New Pitts Mortuary.
This guy never misses an opportunity.
Oh man, I got a good spotter. Brother Nate Luckett,
That's right.
and I hope that's Deacon Mike Jones driving.
You got pre-arrangements, man?
Is he the only spotter?
Mr. Undertaker, man.
He's the only what?
Is he the only spotter?
Drive
Spotter
slow.
only means, it could be.
Hey man, hold on, man. Hey, hold on.
So we dissected every word this morning.
No, just
Okay.
one.
All right, here we
Only.
go. Only can mean
Only one.
the woman that you claiming.
Exclusive.
You can say, well, this is my only sister that I like. So that means that you got
But
more
then
than
not
one.
what he
I
said.
modified it.
That's
I
why.
modified it. I didn't modify it. I said that's
He
my
said,
only
That's
sister.
my
Period.
only sister.
Well, I didn't hear period until after I asked the question.
He don't gotta say period.
No, but if you say that's my only sister,
And
it could
maybe
be
I
more
should have
words
said period
afterward.
because then it could be
Yeah.
modified after that.
Yeah,
Well, no, because you could have had a sister that's maybe deceased,
exactly.
but to the same extent,
would still
if
be
it's
my
still
sister.
your only sister,
My only sister
Then I would
alive.
have to say
That's
my
my
only
only
surviving
sister.
sister.
That's how you would say it. But everybody else that
so you're different. Keith.
Hey,
I
DJ,
don't know
all
what
right,
this man
all right, come
talking
on.
about.
All right,
This
DJ,
is
go give it to me.
Friday.
Go give it
This
to me.
man.
I'll take it. I'll take it. Go give it to me.
Ebony is over here cracking up.
Go. Hey man, I'm trying to. Hey man, I'm trying to
let me
wiggle
make a
up out of this
comment. Let me
thing,
make a
man.
comment if I may. You brothers are so deep.
What'd you say? Keith,
It
I
ain't
missed
got
it.
nothing to do with being deep.
I'm trying to wiggle up out
Brothers
this
are so
thing, man.
deep, man. I mean,
God, dog, man, DJ ain't giving me no room, no pass, no nothing.
Boy, I'm
Just
hearing
gonna hold
Ebony
my
over
feet
there.
to the
Boy,
fire.
Ebony going.
Yeah.
Gonna hold my feet to
Jermaine,
the fire.
stop while you're ahead.
Is that the only ebony?
This is the only exclusively.
Dog, you know what?
Ebony, let the cricket say. Ebony got that thing we used to say, can I talk to you in the kitchen for a minute?
Oh yeah.
You
Let
go
me
to
touch
kitchen-
you for a minute.
And you real calm. Let me just holler at you in the kitchen for a minute. You hear all that yelling?
All that yelling, yeah.
He used to do that Sanford and Son, like, can I talk to you in the kitchen for a minute? Just get away from the company. Don't be clouded in front of the company.
Listen
man.
here, man.
Oh man. So anyway, it's Friday. Sun is shining.
Yeah, beautiful day.
It is, man. It's supposed
Day
to
in
warm
the
up.
neighborhood. Yeah, man. We got warm weather coming. And
Yeah, because I was yesterday. I didn't know if I was supposed to wear a snowsuit, shorts, and
it
headband, earmuffs.
Yeah,
It was
a little
cold.
nippy yesterday.
It was cold as a fool. I mean, compared to the date before when it was
The
75,
sun was out
it was still cold.
and it was above 60.
Where?
No, it
where
wasn't.
you were?
Yeah.
It was
He must
below
have been in Walker
60
Shaw
over here.
Yeah, dog, it was
I wasn't
50
in
something.
no Walker Shaw.
He in Tulsa.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was
No,
like
it's cool.
50
It was
something.
cool over here.
Like real cool.
Yeah, it
I'm
was
talking
cool.
about.
But we almost, we get through. I think we do cooler near the lake. It's usually
You're right.
Yeah.
when I was on the I
Yeah.
was on the east side, man. I could tell you it'd be cold.
Paris, and then you
And,
cross.
and that's when they still had that. Remember that little breezeway?
Yeah.
That went and they tore that, and you could feel the breezeway.
Yep.
Sometimes, coming from 46th Street, right when I got to 43, you can feel the difference once you crossed over. Certainly, when you cross the river, you can feel the difference. So we get through it, man. But this is Wisconsin. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful weather.
Yeah.
Showing way Parris, I don't know if you're listening, but man, I would have to give her something to replace it on the wall.
Well, she probably, rock with it because of you.
I might have all in all.
Oh
yeah, they know, man, that I'm.
yeah.
My sister was a big Earth, Wind, and Fire fan because me and Gary. But Gary liked the Brothers Johnson.
Yeah.
And
Strawberry Letter.
he turned me on to a guy I had never heard before, but he's a violinist, Jean-Luc Ponty.
I'll be good to you.
And I would listen to this guy, Noah Pointer, who was also a violinist, jazz violinist, because he wrote I thought one of my favorite love songs, When I Feel Your Soul.
Mm-hmm.
And man, when you get that deep, when you that deep into it that you feel the other person's soul, you deep.
Mm-hmm.
That's some deep love there, boy. So anyway, I think we're all good. What's happening, man?
It's Friday.
You watching any basketball? Well, let's talk about the Pope. We'll get because basketball we're gonna be going.
Hey, your president, we don't know if he was. We thought he was just being an idiot,
Nah,
you know.
man,
he
But
lost,
then
man.
all of a sudden, you
Real
know,
He lost.
He a real live idiot, man.
I'm just saying though, like,
Unbelievable.
it, is it a coincidence that all of a sudden the Pope is from Chicago?
I really think, and I thought it. No, seriously, it's funny that you say that, DJ, because I thought about.
Maybe he had an inside.
I
tip
thought
or
about
something.
that. Like, wait a minute, is it possible? Because with all this stuff going on, with dude being in office and all this stuff going on, it's been a lot of wait a minute moments for me.
And he a registered Republican.
So this dude said, when they did the whole picture of him as the Pope and the Catholics got upset and things like that, when they asked him about it, he was saying, well, it could be AI. He didn't know nothing about it, even though the White House page
Let's
released
do
this.
this. Let's not.
Yeah, come
We
on now.
know-
He
you
definitely
know,
know he did.
you know. He
Of
lied.
course,
So
of
why,
course.
why we even
Of course.
giving that air?
So this
Talk about, and here's what I noticed. Again, I have seen. This goes back to. I don't remember. I think it was Pope Pius. I don't remember he died, but I do remember Pope Paul. I was in college when he passed. What I want to say though is when you look at the coverage and how the coverage is,
yeah.
you got to remember about 100 years ago, there was part of the Klan's list of people they hated were Catholics.
Mm-hmm.
And when John Kennedy ran for president, there were issues about his Catholicism and whether or not he would be a tool or puppet of the Pope. And a lot of that history comes from, especially the Anglo-Saxons. Those people came from England and even Germany, the Great Reformation. And that there's some people who saw the Pope as the throne, or the papacy as the throne of Satan. And so they had very real issues with him. So the fact that you see the type of coverage that you see now, where you actually watch them, they're showing masses and things like that, really shows how far we moved. And Joe Biden was our second Catholic president.
Really? Only the second?
Yeah, John Kennedy was the first. He was the second.
So out of all of them other ones,
And there was a guy back in 1928, Al Smith, who was also Catholic, and that hurt him when he ran for president. So it's really amazing to me when you see it again. I'm a product of Catholic education, and so I remember in college, one of the priests, Father Delaney, said that Keith is probably going to be our first Baptist Pope, because I really loved the pageantry. I mean, it was Catholicism is the original Christian faith, and so being a Protestant, I look at it real differently. I was sitting with someone and I wanted to ask, was she part of the Council of Churches? And this whole idea of ecumenicalism. So what happens when the Pope visits Israel and he goes to the Wailing Wall? That's significant because for many years, part of Catholic dogma was a certain level of anti-Semitism, right? We do know that it was the church then who encouraged the Crusades, right? The Knights Templars to go and try to take back the Holy Land. So it's been a fraught history when you look at that, but to see this Pope and the fact that he's American and looks like he might have some African blood in him because there's some Creole in him.
Don't start that.
It's fascinating. Well, no, they just talked about his New Orleans roots. So
I just don't know. They can't be with women, can't they?
No, and that's what Trump was saying. Trump was saying,
I don't know
because
how
they
do
was
that.
asking Trump, they was like, so how do you feel about you being the Pope? And he was like, well, I don't think I could do that because, I'm married and
Because
you
I'm
got
a rapist.
and I couldn't go do it.
Pope even if he was married, he's been divorced twice.
Oh.
And there is, where the Catholics are very stringent about divorce, and so that becomes an issue.
But why are they so uptight about divorce when you can't even marry
Jesus,
anyway?
Because Jesus was pretty emphatic about divorce, and I think that they take it from that. I think it's also what divorce means. I think divorce has obviously changed in America. When we look at divorce, it's very different than you getting a divorce in, let's say, Afghanistan. I mean, in America, women have rights, and in the eyes of the law, they have equal rights. And that's why states like Wisconsin, which is a community property state, says that it's 50-50.
But doesn't that speak to, when you, I made a vow to the Lord and I won't take it back. I mean, you make a vow before, people as well as God, that till death do you part is a part of the vow.
Yeah, and maybe realistically now, based on lived experiences, we know that that's not always the case. Again,
we know that's not always possible, but it can be the case.
And is it that it's not possible, or is it?
It's not possible because y'all just not evenly yoked, as the Bible speaks to.
Well, why'd you get married in the first place?
But you got married because at that moment you thought that you would have a future together. You live together, then you find out. But here's the difference.
Yeah.
Now, because you can get a divorce, that means that people who are in abusive relationships have an avenue out of that relationship. The fact that women now are more empowered, which means that they're not necessarily financially dependent on a man.
Right. See, what do y'all do? You can't leave that lopsided, though, because there are men that are in abusive relationships, whether it's physical
I didn't say male or
emotional,
I said
what have you. Women can be abusive as well.
Yeah.
And what do y'all do with that friend that I've already been married and divorced 2 or 3 times? And they say that third or fourth time, hey man, I'm going to get married. Do you actually go to the wedding?
No, because you spent too much money the first 2-3 times.
Well, no, I mean, I think
I ain't going.
You wasted my time.
I ain't going.
Sometimes you end up finding the right one. Maybe you do some soul searching and you figure out that them first 2 or 3 times might have been you.
Who has the highest level of divorce? Usually young people, right? Because your mind is still forming. So you marry someone at 21, 22 years old, there's a whole lot. Then you begin to realize, oh, snap. But I think that understand the rationale Jesus had in terms of his opposition to divorce, because if you divorced a woman, she couldn't go and get a job and take care of kids, right? She would be forced into prostitution, or she could be forced into a really abusive relationship. So there's a lot of times, and I even saw the end of that coming up in my generation, not so much as we move forward. There were a lot of women in tough situations because they were financially dependent on that person. I'm using women in that.
And that person knew it.
Right. And so now you got control issues, you got abuse issues. So the fact that people should extricate themselves or can extricate themselves from abusive situations or toxic situations. If you're sitting there not getting along, I don't, why be together?
Extricate, what that mean?
Look it up. I'm sure you're going to find a kid.
My first time
hearing. It sounds like it may have something to do with extract.
Or leaving or exiting.
I have context clues within that sentence, but I want to get the definition.
Do you know that you represent that fine educational institution called the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee? And as a graduate of that fine institution, the University of Wisconsin,
I've never heard that word until today.
Okay. I used to tell my buddy, boy, you're a waste of Marquette education.
I've heard that plenty of times.
Hey, well, I guess I went to the school of hard knocks then.
One of my cousins used to always tell me, man, I guess they just giving degrees away, huh?
Yeah, man.
And I'd be like, hey, man,
I don't know why I went.
And you went to school where?
Yeah, he was
Caller, welcome to the program.
Man, they just giving degrees away. I see.
Good morning.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
Got a question, but let me do a disclaimer. I am a religious person. I do understand that there's a creator, but I do not, go for the religious practices. Now, I do respect religious practices. When I'm around my people, if they're in prayer, I go in prayer with them out of respect for them and their religion. But when you say that Jesus didn't believe in divorce, so as an observer, my question is that what Jesus said or is that what the people that wrote the Bible said? That's my question.
Okay, and let me answer.
Because we don't know. We don't know if Jesus wrote the Bible. I think we do know. So go ahead. You can answer my question for
It
me.
becomes the text that we rely on. Now, when we get into the authorship of that text, you're correct. Obviously, Jesus didn't write it.
Right.
But what I'm saying is that what we have to extract from it is the truth, and I put that truth in capital letters, that we derive from our, here's a big word for you, exegesis, our interpretation, our examination of what it was. And what happened was, during his time, when a man got tired of a woman, he just go to the rabbi and ask, it's called a let, and that let would allow him then to divorce. Women, in theory, could, but it never happened. We were talking out in the waiting room, and we said it was interesting. The woman who was caught in adultery, who was she caught in adultery with, and why aren't we talking about him? And the reason why we're not talking about him is because it was women who carried the burden of bad sexual relationships.
It was cultural training, right?
Exactly. It was the cultures. For example, I think it's Hawthorne who wrote The Scarlet Letter. It talks about a woman who gets impregnated by the local parson. And because she was pregnant and she wasn't married, she had to wear this A for adultery. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But the person who got her pregnant didn't wear, right. And so and look at our tradition, our faith traditions, even descendants of enslaved Africans. How many women had to come before the church to apologize for getting pregnant, and how many guys came up?
Well, I think
I'll wait.
The key to what you just said is they had to come before the church. So before the church in Africa, what did they do?
I would think that I would think that it was probably the same thing, probably differently executed. That it was the women who always bear the brunt of the shame, bear the brunt of the evidence of the sin, because again, if she gets pregnant, it's obvious she's pregnant, right?
Yeah.
At some point. So I think that those are conversations we have to have around.
Yeah, but let me back up to your first statement. You said that when men get tired of women, but it's never brought up that women can get tired of men.
I'm saying in ancient times.
Ancient times and today.
Yeah, but she didn't have the same power.
She get tired of men now.
Yeah,
Come on,
but
man.
she didn't have the same power then to be able to walk like a woman in America has the power to walk.
That didn't mean she wasn't tired of it.
Oh, I'm sure she was tired of it. I'm sure. I'm sure she didn't want to wash his drawers one more time. I hear you. You listen to the Groovy Voice. It's Friday, joined in the studio by Devon Jones, DJ the Protege, Mr. Debo himself, Jermaine, the wordsmith, right out. Only. Yeah, man. We're going to take a quick break. Calling CC, we're going to grab you after the break. We'll be right back. DJ the Protege.
Hey man,
Yeah,
I
you been
listen
saying
to
that for about a
up
week
for
and a half.
production meetings.
Hey,
so I
yeah.
can get this new terminology.
yeah, hey man, I've been
The
Hey, man,
Diddy
I've been
trial
studying,
is going on. I don't
no.
want to hear nothing about no bed.
No,
from no
but
other
listen,
man.
No, understand. The music that he's playing is called Your Music Bed.
Okay.
So he's just letting you know that we out the bed, meaning I'm killing the music.
Yeah.
No,
See, now
that's why I need to be at the meetings, Debo.
Yeah, because we got to change.
We
that.
didn't have
Like
one.
I
He
said,
just implemented that on his own.
Hey, I'm gonna tell you the way.
Yeah, I don't want to hear
Hey,
nothing
I'm
about no bed.
I'm
gonna tell you where it came from.
And I said, okay, well, it makes sense.
I'm gonna tell you where it came from, man. I was watching. So what was that with when it was on TV? Anchorman. I was watching Anchorman.
Was it the only Anchorman?
No, it's because it's actually two. Thank you. It's actually two. Yeah,
actually two. Good
while
job.
you're trying to be,
no.
I'm on point like Stacey Adams. I'm on point like
go.
Stacey Adams, man. Though you trying to catch me up, man. So I was watching Anchorman, and that's where I got it from. So I had a station meeting all by myself at home,
Watching ESPN.
watching ESPN.
Espen.
Right, Espen.
Caller, welcome to the program.
What up, Pastor Pete?
What happened, man?
What up, DJ?
Good morning.
What up, Vice Grip?
Cheerio.
What up, Simon?
What's happening, player?
I heard you had a birthday the other day.
I did.
You should be eligible for them birthday control pills, you think?
No, it's cool because I'd rather just have anniversaries.
Oh, okay, my man. All right. God was giving a sermon up in heaven. So he said,
if you don't put God in it.
excuse me,
Oh, man.
Go ahead.
Go, man.
God,
Keith got his arms folded already.
and another thing, God was preaching a sermon up in heaven. So he said, all the men that the women run the house and take care of the family and everything, I want you to stand into a line on my left. So all the men got up. They stood in line. It was a line of men as far as the eye can see. So he said, all the men that run the house and take care of the family and lead the family, I want you to stand to my left, right, to my right. One man got up. He went and stood over there. He was the only man in line. God came down and said, my son, I'm so proud of you. I created man to be the leader and take care of his family. Tell me one thing. How did you manage to do that? The man looked at him, said, well, God, my wife told me to come stand over here. The Blues from the Dungeon is brought to you by Bubba, Late Shop, Barbershop, and Rib Shack, where you get a rib dinner, a high top fade, and a dozen night crawlers for $49.99. They're located down the street, round the corner, up the alley. They're in the Black Pages.
Liquors, baby.
And also,
And hold on,
AJ
bro.
Liquors.
Hold on, bro, before you get to A&J. And when they ask you, how did you find out? So you heard it on WNOV.
And we're also brought to you by AJ's Liquors.
That's it.
Where the WNOV special this week is a brick of Wild Irish Rose and a pack of lemon lime Kool-Aid for the low, low price of $13.99. They're located down the street on the corner.
Around the corner.
They're in the Black Pages.
All right. Lord, have mercy.
Appreciate it. Good job, man.
Great job, man.
Hey, hold on, y'all. Hold on. Yeah. Oh, ice at my door, man. Me no compadre. Me black. Me born on 23rd and Brown. Me from the hood.
You're a fool.
No. Oh, shit. Hey, I gotta go, y'all.
6 in the morning. Knocking at the door.
He a fool, man.
He is getting to be a real
bathroom
character.
flow.
Hey, he a fool.
God, hold on. Ice is at the door.
No, I'm going good.
No, I'm going good.
Caller, welcome to the program.
Good morning, you're on there.
Good morning. First thing I want to say is I want, continue to follow your faith. But, sometimes I feel like should no young girl be apologizing to nobody in the church? I always say daddy's maybe, preacher, pastor's baby. And also a lot of times some people get way too deep into that book when everybody has basic common sense. It's safe to say we don't know what he or she thought because none of us was there. And if he was standing there with a woman with 52-inch hips, a 30-inch waist with 58 triple E's, would he tell you if he did something or not? So I always say use basic common sense, because what happens is people get so caught up into a book. Now they're trying to live their life when all you have to do is just use basic common sense. And that's why we have so many people who are jaded, bitter, people who are used rather than just focusing on living life. And people never talk about how much pound town is going on in the church doors, because my best friend lost his virginity on Sunday in a church many years ago. So maybe that was in the name of the Lord when it came to season them yam yams. But I want all you to have a good day, but just use basic common sense, because none of us was there. And whoever wrote it, they could have been sitting there smoking crocodile piss and sucking on sugar cane. You would never know, but you got common sense. Have a great day.
I appreciate you. What's happening, man?
Keith, I wanted to tell you this, man. That sweatshirt you have on, man, is powerful.
Oh, you can thank my wife.
It really says a lot.
Oh,
it's what you would call thought provoking.
hey, I gotta cut you off, man.
Why?
Because, and this was about a year or two ago. I was, early stages of me dating my girlfriend, and she bought me some shoes, some boots, and he liked them. And he was like, "Oh, where'd you get them from?" I said, "I don't know. My girlfriend bought them for me." He said, "Hey, man, don't be letting no woman buy you your clothes, man." You know what I'm saying?
That's his wife.
Don't be.
Yeah, that ain't just some woman.
It
That's
don't
my
matter,
wife.
man.
That's just
It
some
don't matter,
woman.
man. He didn't say his wife. He said,
now you sound
Monica
like
Lewinsky,
Jermaine.
that woman. That's
Now you
my
sound
wife.
like Jermaine.
he told me that woman. He said, "Don't let no woman buy you no clothes, man." And now all of a sudden he talking about thank
Man,
my wife.
But that's a difference.
No,
DJ.
it ain't no. She's a woman. A wife.
But she is
woman.
his wife.
Woman.
She's a female. Right?
Woman.
DJ.
Now look at hey.
DJ.
And y'all get on me talking about taking the
Rhonda has him.
Ooh.
Oh, wait a minute.
When
dude.
you don't.
Don't do it, Keith. Don't do it.
Rhonda has him.
Just let it
as a
breathe.
husband.
He's trying to put you
He
in the. He's trying to put you in the dog. Jermaine, go get my check. Go get my check, Jermaine. Dog. He's trying to put you in the dog.
No. I'm not. What I'm saying is that
Debo's
in
right.
Keith's case, because he's married, he's already spoken for, if you will.
Oh well, yeah.
Because you may have a steady girlfriend now, but for all intents and purposes, you're still dating. So that woman could be trying to buy you.
No, she's trying
Is
to buy
what
me.
he was insinuating, but he's a married man.
Hey, Jermaine, go get my check.
I got you.
No,
Doc.
ain't no.
Go
Debo is right when he said Miss Rhonda has him, because just a few
Now,
weeks
see,
ago he was
now-
up in here explaining. He had a lot of explaining going on.
It was
Now-
more like a Lucy.
See,
It
now,
was more like a
Keith,
Lucy
Keith,
Ball
that's not me
episode.
coming at you. DJ's
Yeah,
coming
that
for
he
you
had
now.
a lot of
There was
explaining.
a lot of Lucy balls going
Well, thank
on. Thank you for acknowledging the sweatshirt.
It is a fantastic sweatshirt. Thank you, Miss
Thank you for
Rhonda.
acknowledging
Yeah,
the sweatshirt.
thank you, Miss
DJ,
Rhonda.
can you read what it says to the people?
Say, imagine being scared of diversity, but not dictatorship.
Yeah, that's powerful.
That's
man.
huge. Whoa.
So again,
Thank you, Miss Rhonda.
thank you.
Whoa.
Thank you. She also bought me a book.
He ain't say nothing about books, so he could get a pass on that.
Oh man, books is that's my love language, man. If I give me a book, you got me. It's called the Multicultural Bible and Multicultural New Testament. It really does it from a different lens when you look at different passages of scripture, more multicultural, and looking at it through that lens. So, I didn't know if I should wear it. I know my wife is very angry right now based on what she sees in this dude. and it goes back to 2020. I know Kennedy learned some very, very bad words when she was little, and Rhonda was taking care of her. And every time Trump would come on, I would hear expletives. You know, it'd be like, "Oh man, she's talking about making a dude."
You move in with a soldier.
Yeah, come on up to the mic.
Come on up to the mic. Man.
I could turn him up.
I
louder.
didn't plan on that.
Okay,
on.
then
I heard y'all on the radio, and I figured,
what did you come for then? If
I
you
want to say come visit the fellas.
Yeah, sure.
I'm just
You know, you
I'm
couldn't be
just
with-
leaving the
you couldn't-
meeting.
You couldn't be with us last week, and
That's
and I'm
right.
glad that you were
That's
able to be
right.
with us
We're
this
making
week.
good.
I missed y'all.
Yeah, we missed you, bro.
You know, but yeah,
Um,
I was just at a meeting
Okay.
about my son's case progressing, and I was
Nah,
listening to your brothers.
I thought about you because the father that ran over that cop.
So why you think about Craig for?
No, because you
The
know
feeling that
his
a dad would have.
Oh,
his son,
Yeah.
you know, like
Oh.
that
Oh,
vengeance.
was-
piece.
Oh, yeah,
Hey,
yeah,
trust me.
yeah.
I know that there were many a day that that Craig
Yeah.
had to go somewhere and just pray. Just Lord, keep me from, Yeah.
because had he had done that, I would have never gotten a chance to meet him. You know what I'm saying? And so I was just like, man,
See, but you know what? And I actually had this conversation with people the other day with a couple guys, man, and they were saying how, you know, that they would have did this and did that, and you know, people had their different sides of what they would have done. But I told them, I said, when you in that moment and that energy is heavy at that time, you don't know what you would do because you just react.
And you really want to get to that moment of sobriety,
Yeah.
because as you know, you're feeling a lot, and you as well you should. How could you not? And but justice, sometimes what justice looks like, it.
so the
is
decision
there-
with Tyree Nichols, it just
Yeah.
brings back all of those, it's obviously I do the perspective, but the perspective of me just writing initially started from a young man running from a cop in Carolina, and they shot him.
That's Walter Scott.
And
Oh yeah, shot him in the back.
Shot him in the back.
Yeah.
And then tried to plant a
Yeah,
taser.
and then try to
right, and I could not grasp my feelings of just seeing that image, and so I just began writing, and then obviously years later the perspective started. But from there, like the genesis of the perspective was from like anguish and frustration.
So question, keep real quick before you go to where you want to go. I know, man, that the scripture tells us that it's a time and a season for everything. Is it ever a time and a season to kill?
I'm sure there is.
Now,
Self-defense.
okay, so
The
would
word
you
everything means everything.
So would you look at this moment that this father did in Ohio and look at it as a time and a season to kill?
I think if you put a moral, ethical, legal piece on it, obviously the answer would be no. Okay. But when you look at it from a human perspective, and you take away some of these other things that we layer these things in our life with, probably you can understand it. Look, people, it would be your first reaction. I mean, it why wouldn't it be?
So what outweighs?
I think it's hard for me. It's hard for me to put it in anybody's mind. I talk about being a 10-year-old finding out my father was killed, and everything you feel. Now I'm 10 years old, kind of going through this, and I can imagine when you're adults. And then I'm not that dad. I'm not that mom. I was just watching the piece this morning on Gilbert Arenas and what's my guy's name? Javette Crediton, who everybody remember back in the day. What he went to prison for was he was going after these dudes that had robbed him twice.
And he had them guns.
And he had the guns, and he ended up killing an innocent person. And he kept saying that God was saying, no. But he said his cousin was like, dude, we here now. We got to handle this business.
And that's how it normally happens.
Right.
Because,
and so you're hearing a whole lot where you're going to tell people to restrain themselves. Then you have other people going to say, no, we got to handle this.
Yeah.
I think when you look at the bottom line of it, all those years of anger I had, it never brought my dad back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so it
that's a spiritual warfare.
Yeah.
That you
emotionally, psychologically.
Yeah, because I was saying, because years later, here you are talking about it.
Yeah, and I'm saying that, and it wasn't, I didn't even had that deep of a relationship with my dad.
Exactly.
So, I'm feeling a whole lot of things like that, like lost opportunity.
Yeah.
There was just a lot. You go through that. I think we get into how we judge people, and we say, this is how you should react. Or as you say, your boys say, this is how I would react.
Yeah.
But you don't know.
You don't know.
Until you go through that, and then how you try to navigate that, and I think that the other thing is that the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice, but justice might not be instantaneous.
When you said
and
that,
it's different for everybody.
When you said that, I just thought about spiritually how you are, and then moving on how you will be. Usually when that moment, whatever trauma or traumatic experience, when that happens, how you are is what takes over.
Yeah.
But
who you were before it happened,
right,
will come to the fore. That is
right.
Well, because when fatigue sets in,
habit
takes over. If you're in an emotionally, spiritually fatigued situation, you're gonna fall back naturally on what you do. It's your natural inclination.
You hear what you said. He's speaking in hindsight, right? Because we always say hindsight is 20/20.
Yeah,
and that is why, for what you said is true. You don't know what you would have done, but you can kind of gain some sort of clarity and just realizing who you were at that moment.
And then there's the unintended consequences of a behavior.
Yeah.
And in that moment, it just takes a moment.
Just take a moment.
So you always hear, I never understood it, because even when I was in Catholic school, I had a nun who said this to me, but understanding when you read that scripture that says that God will not put more on you than you can bear, and talks about temptation. And then he says, but God will allow you an avenue of escape. You got to keep reading that piece of it.
That is the key.
Right.
Yeah.
So if it's the road that you choose. So right now, let's talk about the young man in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Okay. In the moment, you got vengeance.
Yeah.
But the unintended consequences now is on the rest of the family.
Mm-hmm.
Because if he was the primary breadwinner of that family, he's not going to be able to do that.
Not
the
only
impact that it has on his family.
That's what
but you're not thinking about that in that moment. In that moment, you're thinking about right now, and I'm not thinking 3 years down the road or even 20 minutes later what that could look like. And that's hard. So for me to sit up here, and I'm being theoretical.
Yeah.
It's interesting. When I think it's Augustine who does the teaching on the Catholic Church on just war, right? And what constitutes a just war? Because, there's all these criteria. One of the things is, and I heard this in ethics, was that an unjust aggressor forfeits the right to life. The unjust aggressor. This is how but then we still have laws that says that you cannot take vengeance in your own hands. But when that justifies war. So here's the example. So Japan bombing Pearl Harbor, unjust aggressor, or the Russians going into Ukraine, an unjust aggressor. That means that the Ukrainian people have the right to defend themselves, right?
The same principle that Israel is applying now towards Gaza,
which I think is misapplied, but you're absolutely correct.
Yeah.
But that
you can take it too far,
right?
And other people start to suffer for it.
Wait, but how is it possible to take it too far in a situation?
Well, the example
like
you just gave with this individual who ran over
1,000 people died on October the 7th.
It's all the unintended circumstances.
50,000 Palestinians have died.
But that's
the collateral damage is far beyond what you even imagine.
I get it, but that's the results of the first situation.
Yeah, but at some point,
but the two wrongs don't make a right.
Right.
So I've had that thought 1,000 times.
Wait, hold on. I don't mean to cut you off. You just said for Russia going into Ukraine, doing what they're doing, Ukraine got the right to respond, right?
Of course.
To defend themselves.
Right. So who's to say how far I can take defending myself?
Well, you go from defense to offense. You go from.
So what's too much offense?
No. Well, it
Have
could
you
be
ever heard of the
the genocide that you see happening in Gaza
Israel?
right
Okay,
now.
okay.
You know that by any stretch of the imagination, that's too far.
So
I
to
think
me-
there's this
to me, the
principle
too
that says
far-
your motive will determine your methods.
Yeah. To me, the too far term goes to the phrase the oppressed becomes the oppressor.
Mhm.
You know, like
Become the thing you
And you
hate.
become what
But
you
what
hate.
scale
Right.
is that
Mhm.
based upon though? Because you came over here and bumped all these people.
There is a standard in international law that goes from a person being able. Israel had every right to defend herself. She had every right then to go after the perpetrators.
Okay.
Okay. They would even argue in Jewish law, eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth,
Right.
that even that talks about proportionality, right?
Right.
This is beyond any measure of proportionality when you look at it, where there's almost a 40 to 50 to 1 ratio, right? So you can't. Now, you had people who were looking for a reason to go into Gaza. They gave them the reason to go into Gaza. So even those people who perpetrated October 7th had no real understanding of what their consequences were going to be, and their consequences have been severe.
So my last question to you. So if you come and rob me, right?
Right.
And I know it's you, but then weeks later, me and 6 other people come and beat you up, rob you, go to your house, whatever, tie up your wife, do all type of stuff. Why is it that now of what I did is on the scale of it's too much?
Because the law says it's too much.
But you did this to me to cause me to do what I'm
But
doing.
your recourse is to go to the law and then let the law do what the law is required. Now, are people satisfied with how the law is applied? The answer is obviously no.
Okay.
Tyrese Nichols' family at this point are
The
not
law
very
will
happy.
violate you too.
Right. I mean, that's the
The
thing
system
about
will
the law
violate you.
is not
That's
perfect.
one of the things I wanted, if I could, just I've come to recognize that all of us are suffering from a continuum of trauma.
Yeah.
With our ancestors up to today.
Yeah.
So some of our responses come from that, and then when it hits you directly, you get that, am I going to take this road that allows me to realize whatever form of justice I need, or am I going to do what everybody else thinks I should do? I had that thought 1,000 times and still do, but I realized I was shared with this person I was meeting with. When I saw the story about Medgar Evers and his wife, Myrlie Evers, 30 years fighting to get the people who murdered him held accountable, it gave me enough motivation to say, that's the road I'm going to take.
It's possible.
Yeah. Even though they tried to keep her from it. And one of the things I've learned over this 12 years, going on 13 years now, is that the system will violate you, because our rights have been violated more than I even know until recently. I'm still finding out stuff, but I've also seen it work, and I know that these people are going to be held accountable. So it brings me back to the place where you talked about the spiritual component to it, who you are before, particularly when you profess to say, I believe in that creator. He says, vengeance is mine, I will repay. That's why I put the continuum piece, because when the creator does it, it's done right. I would have missed some things by just running over or just pow.
Is that heat wave there? Is that heat wave?
Yeah.
Grooving in his pocket. You hear?
So to take that, it's really like that, the path of least resistance. If I would have chose that, I'm affecting that collateral damage, I'm affecting other people, and then I'm doing detrimental damage to me, who was not the person that I was telling my son I was before this happened. So now I got to keep being that person and go back and get what I've believed and have stuck to all along, reclaiming his humanity, which I've been able to do. And that happens by the system recognizing or acknowledging that they wronged them. These people wronged them. They're going to be held accountable. The system violating them. They are taking accountability now. And even though it took 12 years,
Does that same still?
I'm still able to keep,
pushing on.
yeah. And then having an effect. It's something Tyrone, and I shared this earlier, and I'm going to be done. Tyrone Dumas said to me some couple years ago, probably now, that this effort helps to establish like a roadmap.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen it before, but you see different components of it. And so this is just a component of how this thing can work. And that to me has been of the greater good than me just going and, lurking in an alley and waiting for them to turn the corner and then I'm on the run and I'm fighting the same thing that they fighting within myself for doing what they did. I've approached, I've had to address that question.
Yeah,
do I take the law into my hands like they did?
You're not gonna win.
No,
but
you're
not gonna win like they have apparently won. Yeah. And didn't one of them pass away or something?
Yeah. And his wife committed suicide and his son is in prison.
Yeah, justice, like you said something that was really profound. Justice doesn't always look like we think it should look.
Mm-hmm.
You're listening to it. And real quick, as we talk about this, I know we're gonna do a break.
It's on you.
Yeah, let's do a break. That a guy told me he make 3 decisions. So you can make a good one, a bad one, and the right one. And I think it'd be cool. You listen to Community Voice when we get back. All right, callers, we see you. We're gonna grab you. We'll be right back. Wake up, everybody.
I was hoping we was never in the bed.
Hallelujah.
Wake up, everybody.
Like I
No more
said,
sleeping
hey,
in bed.
Hey man, we in a room full of men,
Come
and the
on,
Diddy
man.
trial was going on.
Take
I
that,
don't
take
wanna
that,
hear
take
nothing
that,
about
we
no
out the
man in
bed.
no bed.
Take that, take that,
I
take
don't want
that.
to hear nothing about no man in no bed.
Baby oil. Take that, take that, take that.
No baby oil, please.
Grease me up.
This dude.
You keep on greasing until you grease me
Man,
up.
why you singing Teddy to me? Now it's time for DJ Protege's perspective.
An ode to the Black woman. Thank you for your presence and your essence of love, support, and nurturing. You birthed us, exposing us to life, liberty, and love. Day in and day out, you commit the ultimate sacrifice, standing up for what's right and never giving up because of strife. Though others try to duplicate you, they can never be you or beseech you. You are love. You are compassion. You are my hero. You are the reason why many of us believe in us. You are strong. So many times we have failed you, and so many times you have stayed true. Black woman, you are the heartbeat of our society. Your forgiveness should be studied. Your presence is admired. To have and to hold you is to be wealthy in what matters the most. In your arms is the exposure to safety for others, though you may not have it yourself. Your resiliency cannot be ignored, and the many lessons you have taught us are to be stored. You are the most precious and more precious than silver and gold. From daughters to wives to mothers. To be you is like no other. Many of us have experienced the term unconditional from your presence, from your essence, from your love. Your existence is a replica of God above. Before I knew God's love, I was greeted with your love first. And through you, I was introduced to God. Black woman, thank you. Thank you for your mercy. Thank you for your grace. But most of all, thank you for being you.
That boy deep. That boy deep right there.
You know,
And the deep do.
it's
Mother's Day.
yeah, Mother's Day.
I love you.
Mother's Day
Mother's Day
is
play.
Sunday, you know, so just a
How come
quick shout out to all the women.
what you just described,
Mhm.
then how come the divine could not be a woman? What you just,
Attributes.
what you just described.
Now,
Well,
Keith,
I would
Keith,
say that the
Keith,
Yeah,
somebody's,
Jackie, I
clap,
think-
somebody's clapping out in the
all
forehead.
encompassing of all of the attributes
Yeah, I mean, I think
of
that
both sides because that's where they both come from.
But you know, we were brought up in a way that, you know, all things powerful and all things that are in charge, you know, comes from a man, and our men
You
like
know, didn't the Bible say that he created man in the image of himself?
right. But you know, ultimately, you know, just for me personally, and I did this in a meeting, in a team meeting yesterday. I just gave a shout out to all of the women on our team because I have benefited from so many women that are not my mom. And trust me, my mom, I could never, you know, sometimes you got to be reminded, unfortunately, sometimes you got to be reminded just how much your mom had your back. But
I'm
you know,
gonna ask a silly question. If God had stopped at Adam, And I'll leave it like that.
Well, why would you ask the question?
How do we know he started it, Adam?
But I'm just saying, if you go with what biblical says, if he stopped at Adam
wrote it.
and he never, but he never made woman,
Yeah, but the dude wrote it.
then there is no civilization.
Yeah, but the dude wrote it. And from his perspective,
I mean,
Supposedly,
like I said, sometimes we got to be reminded just how much people who are in our corner have been in our corner.
yeah, but
And
y'all do too much questioning of God.
I don't
This
question.
dude just
I ain't never questioned God.
I didn't question God. I said if he
I have
had
questioned
not.
God. No, that's a lie. I have questioned God.
We all have,
right.
but I'm saying that
Not in this instance,
the
though.
older, no, not in this instance, and the older you get, the more you are knowledgeable and understanding of mercy, grace,
Doc.
forgiveness.
Yes, sir.
And one of those steadying forces of that mercy outside of God is the many women that have been in my life.
Your mama gonna show up.
Right. You know what I'm saying? Like my mom, my grandmother, you know, like there is no woman that could ever replace. But on top of that, you know, the woman that I love is Black, you know, and her love and support and all that.
You talking about your girlfriend?
Yeah, you know. So it's like I have always had a phenomenal support system stemming from, you know, Black women. And you know, like men, we can say, oh man, we got it the hardest, and women say it too. But just to, you know, everyone needs that acknowledgement of appreciation.
And hard is
right,
different for everybody.
So I just got to give my appreciation to women, to the women that are in my life, because, you know, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them. And
you think
who I want to be is because of, you know, the many lessons that I have learned from women. So
I think, you know, we as I become older, my sister and I, we say this all the time: the older we get, the smarter my mama gets. And you know, but when you in philosophy and in theology, they refer to wisdom in the feminine tense. That is instructive to me. I understand that we have our silos, men, and look, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for my dad. So let me say that, because had my mom and dad not hooked up,
That part.
but the person then who provided the parenting was my mom. And so for many of us, that was our lived experience, where it was our mothers, right, who is there now. There's a counterpoint to that. I had an opportunity to have a conversation with the director of this movie called The Inspection, and I can't think of what Elegance's last name is, but there's a scene in this movie. And this is why Gabrielle Union is probably one of the greatest actresses on the planet. His mama had kicked him out because he was gay. He was homeless. He joined the Marines. Now, this, if you're gonna be a man, join the Marines, right? So he joined the Marines. He talks about, you know, people figured out he was gay. They come at him. You know, he had a DI who was, you know, on the down low, who would deny publicly that he was gay, but then he would interact with him. He went through all of that. He got through the crucible. Everybody knows, if you're in the Marines, the crucible before you graduate from boot camp is that week of hell that you go through. He got through that. His mama comes to graduation. And this is Gabrielle Union. And she's at the graduation. He wants her to be proud. And she was proud that he got through the Marines. She said, but in effect, and when you see how Gabrielle, and I told him, Gabrielle Union played this scene where she said, but you know what? I never can accept you for who you are. When you hear that from your mama, you know, because everybody else, but not from your mama. So, you know, I think one year we did, like, give us a list of bad mamas. You know, there was the mama in The Wire who had her son who was a genius, but she got to put him out there because his old man put work in. She wanted him to put work in to be like his old man. we're not saying that mothers are perfect. Mothers are human.
Right.
And then it becomes the randomness of life in terms of who your parents are,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because there's some people who have not as been as fortunate to have the mothers that we have. That I found that out working in social services.
Me
You
too.
think like everybody out there? No, there's some mothers out there who they had the kid.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a mother now on Facebook. I'm not going to say the young man's name because he passed away in Chicago, but he was known on the streets as one of the shooters in Chicago. And his mother was on social media after he got killed, saying, "Y'all didn't kill him. He's still here in spirit. When my baby was alive, he was out putting in work. He was putting in work in these streets." He was claiming names, and they got this thing now on social media that they'll post a picture of like hats, regular hats, and that just means that you got a body.
Right.
So they had.
I found out what a shooter was.
I know
what a shooter was.
Yeah. So it's crazy that you got his mother glorifying his lifestyle even after death. He's dead. He got killed in a shooting last year summer. He got killed in a shooting, and his mother glorifying who he was. The streets respected my son. Oh, he was a known shooter. What?
But I think you gotta how we look at the world.
There's a lot of that continuum of trauma.
Right. Man,
It's all part of that.
What did she grow up in?
Generational curse.
Right. We normalize pathology. How do you and so real fortunate a lot of times. I never understood, and this is not a judgment, but like the conversations we would have about even having children and how that should be a conversation we had before we had the kids. Because once the kids get here,
it's too late.
I mean, and some people make the pivot. Some people don't.
Some people, and a lot of people think that if I get with this person, even though they might be one way, that I can change them and I can mold them. I'm the potter and they the clay. Yeah, good luck on that, because if you look at the tree, which would be the parent of that person that you're trying to date, if you look at their situation, 9 times out of 10, it's going to tell you who you're going to get, because that's who imparted in that person that you're trying to build a family with. 9 times out of 10, you're going to get what's imparted into them.
And I think that is, parenting is difficult.
Yeah.
It is difficult. Probably some of the most difficult things we do in our lives is going to be parenting, right? Just because every kid comes in with their own little thing, how they respond to stimuli and environment, your birth order. There's all these things that factor into, how you raise a child. Again, I clearly, when I became an adult, I had a different perspective on my mother. Now, because I'm having adult relationships, and now I understand, where it was with her, and her adult relationships, and so, but we do this in such a way where, and I think it's interesting that Mother's Day is so big. Black people didn't invent Mother's Day. Somebody thought that Mama was important. But like I said, there are instances I could tell you, because he's gone home to glory, but I never forget having this conversation at WGLB with the late Leonard Wells, and we were talking about Mother's Day. It was right before Mother's Day, and he said I didn't have that kind of relationship. Now, for many of us, as I'm sitting there with my mother, you go like, wow, because the assumption is that everybody just got this loving mother, and then at the same time, not only is she responsible for me, she's still living her life, her emotions, all those things, and then she and he, because dads do it too.
Thank you.
You got to put it on the back burner because the bottom line becomes the child. Now, sometimes we take it to there's a whole, we used to talk about soccer moms. Now we got AAU parents, and so especially for some of the men, they're vicariously living through their children because they weren't necessarily great stars, and now I got a kid out there in some ways, that's what I look at when I see, John Halliburton, that you don't understand. This ain't about you.
Yeah.
You put your son in that position. Now it's up to you to kind of, just that's his shine right now. But there's some people, I cannot think who the dude got the three boys in the NBA now.
LeVar Ball.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Here's a dude average 1 point something a game.
Yeah.
You vicariously living through your sons. Your sons have been far better than you. That's what you put him in the position for.
And by him stepping in the way, it caused some people, before they even got a chance to know his sons, not to like his sons because of what the daddy was doing.
Right. And we put it on Deion.
Yeah.
Now part of that's Deion saying, look, Shadir does not have the talent Deion had.
Yeah.
Deion is arguably
the greatest,
if not the greatest, one of the greatest cornerbacks that ever played the game, even though there's a Stingley coming along right now that might be able to replace him. Oh, man. I'm telling you, man.
But Deion played both ways.
Played baseball.
Well, so now, just to be fair, Derek played both ways too, but he chose this.
Made a great choice.
Yeah.
Because there's more money at wide receiver. That's one reason why you want to pay, because wide receivers get paid more than defensive.
But then Deion played baseball too.
I mean, so when he came out, there was no question. And here's the other thing. You don't use Deion Sanders to teach how to play cornerback, because Deion Sanders was able to do a whole lot of what he was able to do based on physical ability, right? Other people, who was the guy, the lockdown corner, just retired a few years ago. They used to call it, like when they call it the island. What was that dude's name? Technique. His technique.
I know who you're talking about. I do know.
But his technique was because he didn't have, no one had, because Deion at one point had the fastest 40 time in the combines. Well, Deion get beat regularly, but here's the thing: he run you down. Darryl Green was another one.
That's what I thought you were talking about.
No, not Darryl Green. Darryl Green, but because he was. What's this dude's name?
He was with Washington, right?
He played Washington. He was in Miami. Oh, what's this dude's name? Well, get you.
Caller.
Caller, welcome to the program.
Hey, man, thanks. Let me turn you down because I'm listening to y'all in tune.
That voice. Let me turn you down.
Daryl Rivas.
There you go.
Craig.
Thanks, DJ.
Craig.
Brother.
Thank you, my brother. I want to give you your flowers. You tremendously helped me through my struggles with the loss of my daughter. And the wisdom that you helped me go through, because what we bonded under shouldn't have happened. And so when I'm listening to you guys talk on the radio today, you never know what you're going to do when that situation comes up on you. And I like what you said, because we both had that in our heart for revenge.
Yeah.
But the good Lord saved us and saved our families by doing what he did for us. And so I just want to say thank you, Craig. You're always in my heart. You're always in my spirit. We don't talk a lot like we used to, but you're always on my mind, man. And I love to hear the wisdom that you bring to WNOV. And that's basically to say that too.
Brother.
You know what? I
go
step on that.
No. I have to say ditto, George, because we helped each other, man, and we still are. That's one of the things I know, that you are daily growing and recognizing that. And again, it goes back to what Tyrone said. And this is where that thought about the continuum of the trauma. I mean, we all have a connection, and we all are going through these experiences together. So our losses were our community's losses. This is like when we come to really recognize that, you talk, his whole perspective was about the woman. the mother of civilization, and then the father of civilization. So we get here to this place, recognizing that we all are family. And but we don't look at it from that perspective, and so it's easier to strike out when one of your own family members harms you. Whereas it used to be, I mean, go back to Cain and Abel. He took his life for what? And there's a continuum of that.
George, thank you, man.
Brother, hey, you know, never love. I'm gonna call you, man, because we got some things to talk about. I got some stuff to say.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about sports today. I want to talk about sports later.
All right.
Talk about sports today.
We'll try to get to that, man. And tell Brenda happy Mother's Day.
Yeah.
All right, you hear you. All right, and y'all wives too.
Peace, brother.
You're listening to Community Voice. All right, welcome back to
And
Community
another
Voice.
thing.
And another thing. There are there are quotes out there, you know, and just but I gotta give the dungeon, man. I gotta give him credit today, man.
That was a good
That
one.
was a good one.
That was
Yeah,
a good one,
yeah.
man.
That was a good one. That's what
Yeah.
I thought y'all was following up on when I came in when you were talking about that sweatshirt. It's like, oh, DJ said,
You on the sweatshirt
don't
too now,
let-
Craig?
No, no, I like
I
but the way DJ came at it, he was
I
like, wait a
too,
minute, I
Protege.
thought you told me
Oh,
don't
you
let a
t-
woman do this
yeah.
for you.
Keith, you actually told
She
that
ain't
young
supposed
man
to
that?
dress you.
No, what I was saying was right. Don't brothers don't let a woman dress you. Now that's my and for the most part, I can dress myself unless she says I can't. Caller, welcome to the program.
Yeah. Way to fix that one up.
That's an
Good morning.
interesting caveat.
Good morning.
Shalom.
Yes, sir. Thank you for taking my call. Assalamu alaikum to you, brothers.
Alaikum
And,
salam, brother. Mm.
Yes, sir. Excuse me. But the DJ that you're owed to the black woman, I think that was right on time. That was cool. So I wanted to add with that is with regard to who the woman is, you know, whether she's black or otherwise, that the Holy Quran says that heaven lies at the foot of woman.
Mm.
And that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad says, and they teach, and the teachings teach this with regard to the woman, that when you teach a man, you teach an individual, but when you teach a woman, you teach a nation,
Mm-hmm.
because the woman is the person by which or by route all of the prophets and all great men have come. And the woman is the helpmeet of the man.
Mm.
And the woman is much more important than the man, because she is the second self of God, Allah. Allah does not have need of his creation. Allah provided man with woman and woman with man so that there would be companionship and that the nation would be able to be produced and be productive and become acquainted with one another, although they may be different. And as you all were stating one time, I believe, even in the Holy Quran, Allah bears witness to that something that you all were talking about, that even though there are those who do not call God Allah or are not professors of Islam or whatnot, or even Christianity, they are recognized in the Holy Quran. Even there are prophets in the Holy Quran that the Bible does not bear witness to. But with regard to war, the Holy Quran, Allah says that we are to fight against those who fight against us until we have either overcome them, have been overcome, or peace has been established. So there are grounds and there are rules of engagement. And one more thing, with regard to what is continuously happening over in Gaza and how the people over there are being annihilated, wiped away from the face of the earth, we do understand that there is an effect to whatever cause we embark ourselves upon. So just because it seems as if they're getting away with bloody murder, it is only dug a deeper hole for them. And this is what I really wanted to say. The Jews are charged with the adding to and the taking away from the word of God, Allah. Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna say this: Israel, because trust me, there are many Christians who are supportive of the policies that's currently happening in Gaza, and I don't want to, we would never want to say that Black people, which would be a pejorative, all of us is not, and I would think it would be the same thing here. And we're talking about something now that's geopolitical. What the part of the problem becomes the subtext of religion, right? And in my mind, religion is an identifier, but there's still human beings who are perpetrating the atrocities. And it is a policy, a national policy that is perpetrating that atrocity. It was a national policy that endorsed enslavement and the Middle Passage. It was a national policy that endorsed and executed the final solution in World War II. These are human beings doing what we do. And when we try to group everybody into something, there's a great danger in that. We should clearly understand who the perpetrators are and go after the perpetrators. And I do know for some Jewish people in this country, okay. Let me do this. The Congresswoman Gwen Moore was on yesterday, and she talked about an event she was going to do down at the municipal building. That has been canceled. So Justin Peoples meet her at 3:00 on Sunday. That event has been canceled. Just got something from her office.
You were talking about this geopolitical religious atrocity that we're seeing now. I have to think that this point I usually make about the motive determining your method or what you will do to accomplish your objective, right? And I think that applies to pretty much everything that we see happening. So whether it's Trump or, what we see happening over in Gaza, when you go back to the beginning of the establishment of today's quote unquote Israel, looking at all of the players that were involved in that, and I would equate it to and connect it to a degree what Christopher said, the sustaining of falsehood or fraud that has been perpetrated on man. And I think that what they're doing now is a part of that, because they want to continue to deflect from the truth, primarily the things that have been done to us. And even now, the things that are happening there and that are happening here are connected to our experiences here and around the globe. We are people who have been scattered to the four corners of the earth. And the scripture talks about that and defining those people and letting the whole of humanity know who they are. But then there's so much that has been done to tamp that down and keep it from coming to light. So whether it's associated today with what Trump is doing and talking about make America great again, or if you put, the recent election of a new pope and what they've done in reference to effectuating our current existence and all of the things that we've been dealing with, that again, to me, they go back to what DJ talked about the woman and the importance of the mother, that we're going to pay tribute to this weekend. But the mothers that and the effect that they've had on us, each man, right? As I think somebody mentioned earlier, you said it. If men really, or our young boys and becoming men, really understood the value of a woman, and vice versa. That our strength really comes from understanding the role and the importance of the roles that we play in each other's lives, so that we can be who the Creator intended for us to be.
But that's the world we live in. The good is humanity, but also the bad is humanity. And then when you group it, right now we're not talking about what's going on right now between India and Pakistan. And a lot of that's ethnicity, a lot of that is religion, right? Pakistan was formed to be, the Islamic, because there were so many Muslims in India, and the Hindus were the majority, and so they persecuted the Muslims, so they create their own country, which is Pakistan, right? And then I think Kashmir is disputed territory, but it's what human beings have been doing as long as we've had clans of human beings. You get around, you look at what is in your self-interest. What drives U.S. foreign policy is not morality. It's U.S. what is our national interest, right? At one point, we didn't have much of a national interest in Africa.
Other than the resources,
but now there are other resources. So then it would be those oil producing countries like Nigeria, Angola, Mozambique. We gotta go. Oh, okay. Keep going. Okay. I got three. So I think when you look at, but it's all about human beings. The day of Pentecost is the day that the church was formed. When you talk about the unity and the unified concern they had for each other, what an incredible day and or week. But sooner or later, our humanity creeps in, and we begin to, because as human beings, we're selfish. And what I mean by that is I'm doing things that's in my self-interest. If I'm saying I'm just being altruistic, there's times you are, but look, I see it in my self-interest. I see it in my self-interest to love my kids, for example, right? So, we operate from that. What we try to do is not get to where it becomes so self-centered, so self-absorbed, that we don't realize that as we started this conversation off, our behavior has collateral impact on other people. We do not live in this space by ourselves. I'm becoming a proponent of Ubuntu, this idea that we're connected, and maybe we're connected in terms of our humanity. I know the Pope talked about it yesterday in his initial statement about our connectedness. Now the problem becomes how we execute. That becomes the rub. But the ideal is to say that what can we do? Our relationships become important. And how do I become less selfish? And I'm gonna tell you, that's hard, because I say it every day. When I get up in the morning, I look at the most important person on the planet.
Coach always says, I'm always good because I love me.
Right.
There's a lot of truth.
Right.
That's nothing but truth. The principle of the farmer, the sowing and the reaping, connected to what you said. But then I take it back even further. The principle of Ma'at that says from each according to his ability, to each according to his contribution, back to what you said, this Ubuntu, right? So we all have a value, gifts and talents. And if we all recognize that I'm gonna be my best self if I let you be your best self, because then your gifts and bring in supposed to be, that continuum happens, and the whole of humanity benefits from it, and those who cannot contribute at the same level you are, their needs will still be met.
Let me thank for all the mothers. Let me thank my mom. I have a quick story. College classmate. What I do. So you walk around here like you. Your mama taught me something. My mama didn't teach me that I was loved, but she teach me that I was loved. So thank you for all the mothers. Happy Mother's Day.
Mother's Day, Mom.
I know you know all all the good stuff that you all get. Mother's Day, all the sisters, all the moms out there that I know. You know, I just want to say happy Mother's Day to my daughter and fabulous job on my grandson. Great job. Very proud of you. Happy Mother's Day.
Let me just chime in. All of my daughters with me. You all are doing a fabulous job. It's not a bad thing to, but in any case, I love you all. And it's a day to decide to recognize you. That's what we take this time to do. So happy Mother's Day to all of you. I can't forget happy birthday. I mean, happy Mother's Day.
Always love my
Yeah.
mama. She's my favorite girl. Only get one. Only get one. I started. Oh, you know what? Earth, Wind, and Fire's mom. That's a good one too. Yeah, that's a good one too. Appreciate you. Great. Thank you, man.
I appreciate this program. Just thank you.
DJ, thank you, man. I know you're on the road. Thank you, sir. Wordsmith, thank you. God bless you.
For the community.
Yeah, happy Mother's Day to all your moms, all you Earth moms, all mothers. Happy Mother's Day.
Let's have a peaceful Mother's Day. Please.
Thank you. Good Lord willing, Creek Don't Rise. Hope to talk to everybody on Monday. You have a safe weekend. And as always, welcome to this place.
This is your season.